All right, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we'll be moving straight ahead now to naira circulation. And of course, we have CBN begins monitoring as banks set 2 weeks target. And we still have our guest with us, Mr. Matthew Oluko, who is a public affairs analyst, who will be giving us his perspective on this. Yeah, Mr. Oluko, now we understand that the CBN is, set to monitor the bank, and they'll be given 2 weeks, which of course, includes they working Saturday, Sunday to make sure that money circulation, naira circulation, is available, at all ATM stands. But looking at the situation, we have a very serious crisis where, as a bank, you give your customers, those who are coming to your ATM, a certain amount, which sometimes goes as low as 20,000 naira, for instance, to send customers. And people who are not your customers, coming hopefully with a different ATM card, cannot get up to that 20,000. Sometimes they get less, for as low as 10,000. Why is that the case? And we also have super agents who are also still collecting exorbitant charges from every transaction you make, in spite of the fact that monies have been made available through the depositing bank. Why do we have all of these confusions?
As a company, whether a bank or whatever company, you have the right to give your customers prerogative and special attention. I think that must explain the reason you see banks saying, if you are a customer of my bank, if you operate with my bank, you have the liberty to withdraw more than people coming with other ATM card of other banks. Bible said that. I think what CBN is doing is in compliance with the court order that extended the deadline of the usage of old naira note to 31st of December this year. Ordinarily, I don't think CBN is willing to open this window of bringing back old naira note. Don't forget that part of the reasons adduced by CBN as to why they roll out the policy is to mop up money in circulation, so that if they make monetary policy, it will be effective. To an extent, I think I agree with CBN, because I don't think there's any country world over that want a situation where you make policy, monetary policy is not effective because you don't have control over the money in circulation. Bible said, I think there's a need to balance it, so that even as you mop it up, the economy is not starved of funds like we see currently. And that is where I am not uncomfortable with the decision of the court to allow the old naira note to come back into circulation. But again, I think CBN should be wary of how they release the old naira note, so that all the whole exercise, all the whole essence of the policy will not end up being defeated. That's because if you now bring back all the money that hitherto was mopped out of the system, I think it will take us back to where we started from.
All right, now, before I come to the aspect of the super agents who, demand exorbitant charges from their customers, what negative impacts? Yes, it's okay for banks, to give preferential treatments to their customers, saying, okay, you get 20,000 naira as long as you are a customer. What negative impact will they have on the economy, especially with businesses, for those who might not be customers of those banks?
Don't forget that even before now, we were not even having an opportunity of withdrawing cash at all. Personally, I have almost everything I do is e-transfer. But that is not to say I do not need cash. Like yesterday, I was able to get, is it close to 10,000? Though I didn't go to ATM anyway. I got it through POS operators. And I paid 100 naira per each 1,000. Contrary to the opinion of some persons who felt they got, though some person may charge higher. But I'm not unaware that it could have been less, because I'm equally aware that ATM machines are dispensing. But I do not have the luxury of time to stay in the queue and wait until I get it through the ATM machine. So for me, I think what we are seeing currently is, if CBN watches and discover that the money they are rolling out is, because if you roll out money, the essence is that it goes round, it comes back to the bank. The essence of releasing money is not that it continue infinitesimal in the society. It goes round the system, return to the bank, it goes round. So if you have released to the point where it becomes a threat to the economy, I think they should monitor it.
Now, in the aspect of super agents collecting exorbitant, charges for every transaction. For instance, I said yesterday, I did a transaction of say 2,000 naira, and I was debited 2,300, which is not the case as we used to have it before this policy. What could be done to curtail these acts, especially by super agents taking advantage of Nigerians, especially understanding the fact that now the CBN has made a move to make sure that monies are available in all banks? Would that not discourage people from withdrawing monies from these avenues?
I think it is part of the impunity that reigns in our system. Because you agree with me that this is not the only area you see people flouting the law. And this is not the first time. CBN have come out even before now to say you have no right to charge above 100 naira per transaction. I mean POS operators. And I think they have consistently flouted that directive from CBN. So the only way you can address it is to get one or two persons who are indulged in it, prosecuted, and make sure of them. Because the essence of law and order, the essence of prosecution is to act as a deterrent to others. So until you make a show of somebody, you publicize it, other people will not learn. Because Nigerians or human beings generally, let me not use Nigerians, have this tendency to take advantage of any situation. So if they understand that people are already paying and they are not complaining, I think they want to see it as a new normal and continue with it. But the only way you can put an end to it is for the government, through the relevant agencies, to move in, get one or two persons, because you cannot get everybody prosecuted, get one or two persons who are indulging it, get them prosecuted, let court make pronouncement, and while the litigation is going on, make a wide publication about it, so that everybody is aware that Mr. A, who does this thing that is wrong, is paying for it. Until you do that, people will not learn.
Now, looking at the going right about now, do you see any positive effect? Do you see any positive change, especially with regards to Nigerians being able to access cash?
We are currently seeing some level of relief. We are currently, like I told you, I've seen somebody who was able to collect 30,000 from a bank. Somebody else collected 2010, as the case may be, and that was not the case before now. So it shows that actually the pressure from TUC and LSC is actually working. Because before, to be quite honest with you, before now I never saw Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress as a pressure group any longer. Because over time they have shown that they have no capacity to put pressure on the government, particularly since Oshomole left that position. But since I think this Jero just came in, we can see that he was able to put the government on their toe. Though that notwithstanding, there is a court order that have compelled CBN to recirculate this money. Perhaps they were for dragging, and Labour leaders step in, and we are seeing that based on the pressure from Labour, they are stepping up their action in terms of releasing the old naira into circulation.
Now, it's very, very obvious looking at past experiences where anything that is hiked in terms of goods and services hardly comes down. Nigerians are saying, this is a speculation, that with the way things are going, this super agent may likely not reduce the prices of their charges, especially for transaction. What do you think about this going in the coming days?
That may be an illusion. It may be an illusion because demand and supply is a natural phenomenon that fixes price, and is not restricted to other economies. Nigeria is inclusive, and the cash availability of cash is an area where you can test demand and supply. Like I told you that I collected money yesterday, and I was charged 100 naira per 1,000, and before now the least I've used to collect money was 300 per 1,000. What does that tell you? It tells you that the money is becoming available. It tells you that the person who gave me that money, the POS operator who gave me that money, is aware there's a competitive market, that if he's not willing to give me 100 naira for 1,000, I have option of going to other places to get it. And again, the other day before it came to this level, I went to somebody, a POS operator, who demanded 300 for 1,000. I said no, it's high. I went elsewhere, I got it 200 for 1,000. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, next time I want to collect, I will insist that it's 100 naira for 5,000. Because I know it's a competitive market, and because I know that it is becoming more available, and the person who is giving it, I know that if he's not willing to give, I have alternative. So it's a function of demand and supply that would naturally drive it down. That notwithstanding, we equally need the government to intervene through arrest and prosecution of offenders.
Now, the notes you've been getting, are they old notes or new notes?
To be quite honest with you, part of what I got yesterday, 3,000 new notes, and the rest, about 7,000 old naira notes.
Okay, why I'm asking this is, how are they able to strike this balance? Like you said earlier,
it's not about striking balance.
So as not to defeat the purpose.
No, it's not about striking balance.
Okay.
Customers or Nigerians are not mindful whether it's old note or new note. So long as the old note is equally a legal tender, just as the new note is a legal tender recognized by the Constitution as it stands today. So until the 31st of December this year, when the old naira note will cease to be a legal, would have lost its legal tender status, except otherwise the case is reviewed by the court. So whether you have the old naira note, new naira note, I think they have the same
legal tender status.
Yeah,
understandably, they still have the legal tender status, as long as the tenure for it is still very much far ahead of time. I'm looking at the possibility of not having more of this old naira note in circulation than the new naira note, so as not to defeat the purpose for which it was set.
I think what is paramount is the amount of money in circulation, whether it's sufficient enough to lubricate the system to ease the tension. It's not about the proportion of the old naira note vis-a-vis the old naira note. What is paramount is the quantity, the amount we have in circulation. Is it sufficient? I know CBN have said that even as they are being compelled to push back to release the old naira note into circulation, that they have a cap they are looking at, so that you don't release more money that will end up being counterproductive to the economy.
Good. Now let's look at the process, because we have seen that the implementation process, especially with regards to this policy, was really fought with, especially with the fact that they never made sure that enough of the new notes were in circulation while trying to mop up. So it was more of, cash confiscation than mopping up. What do you think the government, especially the CBN, have learned over time as regards policy implementation?
You may not have captured the mind of CBN properly, and even the mind of Mr. President properly in your assertion. Don't forget that even Mr. President, even recently, praised himself that in the last presidential election and governorship election, that he was able to curb vote buying as a result of scarcity of naira in circulation. So that may be part of their strategy to ensure that Nigerian politicians do not use naira at the detriment of the electoral process. But unfortunately, the umpire may have acted in such a way that undermine the effort of the government and CBN. Because from what we are seeing, it is being perceived that there is an alleged electoral brigandage, and that it was driven by the electoral umpire, going by the electoral umpire itself not being able to live up to their promise, not just promise anyway, up to their guideline to upload election result electronically. So what I'm trying to say in essence, though it's another issue since the matter is in court, we don't want to dive fully into it. But what I'm trying to say is part of the reason CBN, from what I can perceive, roll out that policy is to deter Nigerian politicians from using naira to buy vote and compromise the electoral process. So it may not be entirely, it may not be entirely because they want to starve the public of fund. I think their intention would have been, after the election, they will release some money back to the system.
But from your assessment, what can you say about the policy? Looking at the fact that it really, really, beat hard on Nigerians, especially with the hardship Nigerians went through. People were unable to access cash. People were stranded at some point in time in their place of work or wherever they might have gone to. Even at some point in time, people could barely feed their families because they couldn't get cash. So would you say on this, platform that you could score the president or, the CBN governor on this aspect?
You almost said it all, because in this particular issue, you don't need hypothesis or analysis to arrive at inference that actually the policy is antithetical to the well-being of Nigerians. You cannot take that away. That is not to say entirely that the policy may not have its own good side, because just as they say that anything that have advantage will surely have disadvantage.
But don't you think it was more of a disadvantage, seeing how Nigerians reacted massively, even some Nigerians took to the street to protest?
If actually the policy was able to curb vote buying, and we had a free, fair and credible election that reflected the wish of Nigerians, I think the suffering of Nigeria would have been worth it.
Now, in going forward, what do you think the government needs to do, especially with policy implementation? Not just coming up with policies, but seeing through it that it achieves its end.
I think what government need to do is not just what they need to do, and I think they are aware. If you want to roll out policy, there is always need for a pilot scheme of it.
Do you think there was any pilot scheme before
I doubt. That is why even when INEC was telling us about the difficulty to upload the election result electronically, experts in that field were asking them, did you carry out stress tests?
But of course, without delving too much into that of the political angle of it, it was also tested in some states. In Osho, for instance, the BVAS was used. If you're looking at it,
I'm looking at the larger scale.
Oh, okay.
That was the argument of experts.
Okay.
That there was a need to carry out stress tests. Bible said that, I think going forward, if government want to roll out policy, whether monetary policy, whatever policy, there is need for pilot scheme, test running, to actually understand the efficacy of such policy and the challenges that will come with it.
Now, as we close, what's your final words?
My final word is this: that the government should realize that whatever policy they have in mind, that the whole essence of governance is for the welfare of Nigerians. And if the welfare of Nigerians is not guaranteed in such policy, I think it should be jettisoned. Because the constitution is unambiguous about it, that the welfare and security of Nigerians shall be the primary purpose of governance. So any policy of government, any action of government, I think our welfare and our security should be paramount. Once it's not guaranteed, I think that policy is not worth venturing into.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthew Oluko, for sharing your views with us, especially with regards to the implementation of the policy now and also going forward. We'll be going for a short break now, and when we return, we'll be wrapping up on the show today. Do stay with us.